and welcome back to another Koze Daily Brew. Today I wanted to talk about how my personal belief of poor health begins within the mind. The reason why I wanted to talk about this is because this is something that I've done my own little bit of research into, and it's just like it's a topic that seriously interests me. I've been reading this book recently called The Happiness Advantage. It's one of my September books, and it's kind of blown my mind because a lot of the studies that he resources and talks about in this book, they've basically proven that a lot of our reality and a lot of our outcome comes from the way that we perceive things inside of our minds, which is pretty much not new news anymore. But there was apparently a time where people believed that you were just kind of like at a set point, like your brain stopped developing at 21 and you just like couldn't get any smarter after that age, or that you couldn't basically enhance your life in any type of way, or change your reality in any kind of way, or change who you are as a person in any kind of way, that you were just kind of like set in stone. And that's just proven to be not the case now. So the more that I've read this book and the more that I've done even just research and personal experience as well, the more that it's intrigued me, the thought of we can change so much by changing our thoughts. I think the reason why it intrigues me is because I've grown up obviously dealing with mental health issues, but also growing up around a lot of people with mental health issues, and it's always kind of been one of those helpless feelings where when someone's sick, whether it be physically or mentally, obviously when it's someone you care about, you want to do anything you can to help them. So you start looking into ways to help them, and in a lot of ways I feel like looking into it ended up kind of helping myself, because the only way you really can help other people, different Koze Daily Brew for a different day, but is to basically help yourself, because you can't force anyone to kind of do the work, you know? You kind of have to do the work for you and hope that it inspires other people to do the work. But the more and more that I guess I've done my own mental work, and the more and more healing that I've been on in my own life, the more that I feel like I've really started to see the proof that your health, whether it be physical or mental, or even spiritual health, or hey, even financial health, and all the healths basically start with our thoughts and our mind. Here's why I believe this. Something that I recently spoke with you guys about, depending if you saw that Koze Daily, is about my journey of spirituality. And within that journey of spirituality, one of the things that I've really challenged myself to do is to be open to experiencing and feeling and going through a lot of emotions that I basically have pent up inside me or pushed away at some point in my life. And one of the things that basically opened that door for me was getting into yoga. The reason why is because I have grown to believe that a lot of the tension that I think resides, at least in my own body, and I'd like to say in most of our bodies, I think that that tension doesn't necessarily come from, I'm trying to be very particular about my words right now. I basically just want to make sure that I'm not disclaiming health, you know, because obviously you want to take care of your body in a physical way. Like you want to eat healthy foods, and you want to exercise, and you want to stretch, and you want to do all those things, because obviously that's going to give you the most potential to being healthy. But I don't know if you guys have ever heard of the documentary. It's called, I want to say it's called Heal, but in case I messed that up, I'll leave it down below. I watched it this year on Netflix, and one thing in particular that she talked about, she interviewed this woman that basically ran all the time, did yoga, ate organic, ate plant-based, and still ended up with cancer. And when I was watching this documentary, that kind of scared me, because I was like, I identify with this woman, because I feel like I eat plant-based, and this year I've taken the organic journey, and I run and I do yoga and I do all these things too, but she ended up with cancer, and it wasn't in her, like, basically it wasn't hereditary. And one thing that she said is, she was like, despite doing the most for myself, one thing I never really did was check in on my mental health, and I was always overworking, and I was always stressed, and I was always blah, 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 right? And that really got me, because I was like, wow, I feel like I'm somebody that, despite, you know, I think that I can be a little hard on myself, definitely sometimes, but I also know that there are times where nobody knows exactly what's going on inside your mind aside from you. And I definitely have become aware of the tone of my thoughts, and I'm aware of the tape recorder in my mind, where I'm going through times where I am really stressed, and times where I do feel like work is kind of piled up, and those are always times where, despite doing the most, I still feel tired, or I still feel weird, or I still have like pain in my body in some place or another. And through yoga and through that journey, and also through just researching, I've come to believe that a lot of our physical symptoms, I think, start in our heads and start in our minds. Here's why I believe this. For myself, I think that there have been times in my life where there have been toxic thoughts that I didn't kick out of my room. By my room, I mean like the room inside my mind, okay? Follow me. There have been toxic thoughts that I didn't kick out. They're almost kind of addictive in a way. It's like sugar. Sugar is bad for you. We know it's bad for you, but it tastes so good. And how could it be? It's like your best friend when you're eating it because you're like, this is awesome. I got a spike of energy. It tastes really good. We just like me and sugar are best friends, right? But then you find out that sugar, even though it's your best friend in the moment, it's not your long-term best friend. It's actually one of your frenemies. It's your worst enemy. And so I feel like a lot of the times for myself and my experience with mental health and positive thinking and just trying to basically rewire my brain in a lot of ways, that toxic thoughts had become almost like sugar to me at times in my life where being negative felt better than trying to be positive, because to try and be positive came with a lot more restraint, came with a lot more work and a lot more effort. And it almost felt better to stay negative despite how healthy I was taking care of my body. And at one point in my life, that definitely stemmed from feeling toxic about myself. Like it was almost like I was punishing myself. And through punishing myself, these toxic thoughts and toxic whatever, it was like I was taking care of myself kind of, but I was also mentally like the meanest to myself, and I was mentally very hard on myself. And during that time in my life, I'm pretty sure I was dipped into yoga, but I was on that journey and I was really starting to get into it, and I was aware of the fact that like I was like, okay, I'm 24, like I feel like I shouldn't be having pain like this in my hips, or like I'm this age and I shouldn't feel like I shouldn't be waking up with a pain in like my lower, it's almost like my back hip. And just like pulsing pains too. And I dipped into some books on yoga, like The Subtle Body and yoga philosophy, just so many different things. And one of the big beliefs behind yoga is that when we hold tension in our bodies, that tension comes from our thoughts. And so our thoughts translate to tension in our bodies, and that tension gets stuck, and those emotions get stuck in that tension. And if you don't release that tension as you age and as you grow older and as time progresses, it gets worse, right? And so that's basically the whole concept of what I'm getting at here today, is that when I've gone through times in my life where I've felt my mindset to be a little bit more negative and I've found myself to be thinking a little bit more toxic, I've noticed that it's during those times that my body almost feels way more tense and I feel I'm in more pain. My recovery from workouts is longer, and it's just kind of like a foreshadow of, oh, where's my mind at? What's the tone of my thoughts right now? And am I gracefully like loving and caring for myself, or am I acting through ego where it's like you love and you care for yourself for aesthetic reasons, but you're not actually loving and caring for and nurturing your soul and nurturing, you know, what your body is made for? And that was like a big epiphany for me. And it was an epiphany for me because I haven't had this happen to me in a very long time, but one thing I've experienced before with my anxiety is that I've gotten panic attacks before by thinking I'm sick. So basically, like there's been times where I've thought I was having an allergic reaction despite knowing that I've never been tested for allergies, but I've never really had allergies. But I ate something one time in my old apartment when I lived with Maggie, and I was so certain that I was having an allergic reaction that I triggered my own panic attack, but all the panic attack symptoms were feeling like an allergic reaction to me. So basically, like what I'm getting at is I've experienced before times in my life where my mind has basically triggered me to feel physically ill. And it's an epiphany for me because I guess the fear of ever being sick, I don't know where it comes from, but it's definitely one of those things that I've put high on my priority list. It's like, I don't know at what point it shifted for me from being like, I wanted to be vegetarian when I was younger for animals, to this feels and just makes the most sense for me and myself and my journey to just be a healthy person and to take care of my body. And like if I wanted to be more mentally healthy, I realized that I wanted to take care of my physical body and just basically set myself up so that if I really wanted to mentally heal and emotionally heal, I was doing the most physically to give myself the best palate. Because in a lot of ways, I think that our bodies are kind of like the doorway between who we are and what we're experiencing, right? Like here's your life, and here's you, and you're inside your body. So your body's kind of cloaked around you, if you will. And as it's cloaked around you, you experience life through that body. And so in my mind, it made sense to me, like I should take care of my body if I want my internal experience to be better. And so rather than trying to fix the external, I tried to start working on the internal. And with that, I've found that through that journey, I have healed, or I've noticed a significant increase in a lot of things that used to physically bother me before. This even goes as far as like my eyesight. So I got glasses a year or two ago, and I spend a lot of time on screens and computers, but there's definitely times and days where my eyes get really, really sore, like sore in a way that I can't describe. I also have this thing where my eyes will kind of like spaz out for a second. And I've noticed that that's always during weeks where I'm really stressed out and I'm like really bagging on myself to get a lot of things done. And then I can have a following week where I've noticed that the tone of my thoughts are very healthy, I'm taking good care of myself, I'm being really graceful with myself. And those things just, I don't even notice them because they are not noticeable because they're not happening. And so I guess, you know, that's kind of my own experience. I'm not a doctor by any means, and I just want to make clear that these are all based on my own experience and what I've read and researched thus far in my life. But I've definitely even noticed in myself a big difference in my overall physical health correlated to where my mental health is, correlated to the tone of my thoughts. Whether you believe that or not, I feel like it's a really cool concept solely because, given the fact that whether you believe it or not, giving it a try and trying your hardest, not hardest maybe, because trying your smartest to be aware of the tone of your thoughts. And if you can, when you catch yourself thinking very toxic thoughts or negative thought patterns and anything that basically doesn't serve you, to just become aware of it, not fight it, but just become aware of it, and then just try and replace it with something. Like if you're noticing yourself thinking, I always screw up, I'm always behind, I always whatever, you can instead think, I'm working really hard, I'm trying the most, or I did a really good job on this, even though I'm behind, I'm really happy with how that turned out. Because you don't want to necessarily fight yourself, because it's just going to spew more negativity, which is also just like one thing I'm not good at all. But it's just becoming aware, and then taking that awareness and trying to use that awareness and that sense of consciousness to replace it, or to just introduce a better thought. And the more you do that, the more, I like to believe, you kind of raise your vibration. And the higher you raise your vibration, the healthier you are, the more you glow, the more things just start to, you know, just like ease off a little bit. Like you'll notice a lot of physical symptoms start to ease away, and just so much can be changed by your thoughts. So I want to hear what you guys think about this concept down below. I also highly recommend reading The Happiness Advantage. I'm almost done that book now, but it is very, very eye-opening in the sense of it gives you a lot of tangible proof to hold on to, which I think tangible proof also gets your brain on board. But also too, it talks about how you can use that to basically better your life, become more successful, and just become more joyful. And I think that that's been a big mood lately. If you guys haven't noticed, I feel like this whole September Koze Daily Brew, it's been a self-care September, but it's also just been like daylight and like happiness, and I've been loving it. So let me know what you guys think down below. And aside from that, I hope you guys enjoyed today's Koze Daily Brew. I also hope I didn't like offend anybody by saying that basically physical health is a stem from our mental thoughts, because I know that there is definitely way more to more severe illnesses, but I definitely just think that we can basically, kind of like with taking care of our physical bodies, give ourselves the best palate. I think we can also give ourselves the best palate and the best chance at living a long and healthy life if we begin with our thoughts as well. The best form of treatment is prevention or whatever, or the best form of prevention is whatever. I don't know the quote, but basically I'm saying, like, I mean, if you're watching this and like you're a healthy person now, like the best way to stay that way is to keep staying positive and healthy. I don't know why I'm just like, I tried to wrap it up and now here I am still spiraling. So let's just wrap this up. Let me know your guys' thoughts down below. And aside from that, I'll talk to all of you guys tomorrow morning. Bye guys.